Welcome to the Let's Feel Good podcast. I'm your host, Annie. After nearly a decade of asking, why don't I feel good? I ultimately discovered the answers through simple changes to my daily habits. I've spent years healing myself and investing in health and wellness companies tackling the chronic disease epidemic. Along the way, I realized something important. True health isn't built through cold plunges, IV drips, or $30 smoothies. It's the small, everyday choices that add up, shaping both how we feel today and our long-term health. Let's Feel Good is here to keep it simple, giving you practical tips and swaps that compound into a lifetime of vibrant health. Thanks for being here. Let's feel good together. Back to the Let's Feel Good podcast. I am so excited to be here today with Rebecca, the founder and CEO of Mamala Organics. Rebecca, I am so excited to have you here. I'd love to start off if you can just share quickly on your background and yourself and your story and what inspired you to start Mamala Organics.
Yeah. So my background is over a decade in PR and communications, launching and supporting the growth of fashion brands. So not the world of CPG at all. But after I had my first, I ran back to the office and was really suffering from nutrient depletion. I didn't know what it was at the time. And very quickly after that, COVID hit. So it was kind of all of these things happening in tandem where I wasn't at the office anymore. I was at home. But I still felt myself suffering. And that suffering really came down to not nourishing myself properly. So 4 o'clock would roll around. I'd be looking at a half-eaten bowl of oatmeal or a half of a bagel and knew that I just was not nourishing myself appropriately. I was taking my postpartum supplements, but it was really just a lack of bandwidth, not getting in the food I needed. So I went out into market to find a great snack option. It was a lot of balls, bars, and cookies focused on lactation support. And I was really looking for full spectrum support. And the more I kind of dug into it, the more I realized over 50% of women after the first 3 months are no longer breastfeeding. So there's this entire community of women who are kind of silently suffering without the option of products to really fill their nutritional gap. Simultaneously, I was kind of at playgrounds out in the world, and I kept seeing women reluctantly sip on these toddler pouches like yogurt or applesauce pouches just because it was such a convenient option. So I kind of had this aha moment where I was like, this is super functional in terms of a format, but it doesn't have the ingredients that we actually need. And that's when I went out and I found a dietitian, had the conversation with her. Can we create a full spectrum food as medicine option for postpartum healing and recovery and use this format? She said, yes. And that's how I got started.
Amazing. And when you say you go out in the market or you went out personally, you're looking for a snack.
Yeah.
You're finding lactation balls, cookies, different. Why weren't those serving your needs? What were you looking for that those didn't offer?
Well, I breastfed both times, but my main concern just wasn't lactation support. My main concern was hormone regulation and balance, immunity, digestion, and microbiome health, tissue repair and muscle function, sleep support, calm energy support, and lactation. So these products were only addressing a very small aspect of, the complete picture.
It's also interesting to me that, I've never had a child, so I'm not one to speak from experience, but I'd be curious, after you had your baby, you're leaving the hospital, you're, chatting with the pediatrician for your baby, your OBGYN. Did any of them mention nutrition to you? Like, how did you even know what nutrients you needed to support these symptoms and help yourself feel your best and recover as quickly as possible?
My kids are 6 and 4 now. And I think with my 4-year-old, there was a lot more information available, but none of it was coming from my OBGYN. I was lucky enough to have a doula who did kind of talk me through this. And then in hindsight, and if I end up doing it again, I will have a postpartum doula. But a lot of it was kind of up to me to navigate. And that was just a lot of personal research, figuring out kind of where the gaps were, what I needed. But we go to our OBGYN at 6 weeks to get cleared for sex and exercise. We get a sheet of paper, a survey to screen for postpartum depression. And that's kind of it. They, you just don't have the education to speak to kind of everything that we are contending with in postpartum, whether it's nutrition, whether it's physical therapy, whether it's, the emotional toll of being home with a newborn. Our OBs don't have the bandwidth to really address those things. So, kind of like up to us to have our own agency to figure that out. And luckily now there are a lot more resources, but then there just weren't many.
I feel like it's for women's health in general. Like I struggled from PCOS and missing periods after going off the pill. And I remember going to my Harvard trained OBGYN who told me the pill is your only option. And there was just no comment on nutrients. And then I started following Dr. Jolene Brighton, who I love, and I'm sure you know in the space. And I read her book, Beyond the Pill. And she had a shake with like maca in it and all of these berries and greens and protein and ashwagandha, all of these different herbs. And I got my period back through changing the way I ate and my lifestyle. Yeah, it's definitely like not traditional medicine's fault, but there's this whole other world of such incredible support. That and those resources are available to us. They're just harder to find. So I'd be curious, just if you could go over like what are some of the most common symptoms of being postpartum, and what nutrients help kind of address the root of those symptoms.
Yeah. So, I think the most common symptoms that you hear about are fatigue, mood shifts, brain fog, and immune challenges. And like these aren't just random symptoms. These are real physiological shifts and loss of nutrients during pregnancy and birth. It's hormonal changes, it's sleep deprivation, it's the stress of caring for a newborn. So, for us, instead of like looking at these symptoms in isolation, we really wanted to ask what is the root cause? And, by and large, nutrient depletion, that is the root cause, and the body really needs to rebuild. So, for us, like nutrition and food is the central and decisive factor. So we're talking about like, how are we going to get in real whole ingredients that not only deliver, key nutrients like iron, magnesium, zinc, iodine, DHA, but also give you antioxidants, plant compounds, and fiber because they need to work together to get that deeper support. I mentioned previously that I was taking a postnatal supplement, and that where I was really falling short was my actual nutritious food intake because I just didn't have the bandwidth. So, with Mamala Support Snacks, it was really about getting a whole food snack into the hands of this really nutrient critical population. And it's a snack it's practical and it's convenient and it's approachable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nutrient depletion is the cause of the hormone imbalances. So,
Wow.
when you talk about this, like you have this period that is the largest hormone drop in a woman's entire life stage, right? And you need to have a foundation built around supporting this huge fluctuation. And that key decisive factor is your nutrition. And just, you are so fried after having a baby, especially your first. You're kind of running on this like anxious energy. So a lot of women just like aren't hungry, which is why this is a good option because it's just easy to get in. And then you just also like don't have the bandwidth to care for yourself. And I know we'll get into more about like how other people can care for you, but yeah.
So important. No, it's amazing. And I'm curious your personal experience. I mean, obviously you believe all of this enough to have started the company and so many women are buying these and loving them. What are the results? Do women feel better? Symptoms? Did your symptoms ease? Like, talk to us a little bit about how effective they are.
Yeah. It's been like it's an entire game changer for me and my life. My ability to nourish myself actually got harder the older my kids got because in like the early days, you're just like really strapped for time because you're so hands-on. And then the later days, you're really just shuttling them from place to place and, managing work and managing everything else. So, in my life, they've been such a game changer just because I don't have time to sit down and have a meal all the time. And I can kind of walk through how I take care of myself. But let's talk about the other Mamalas for a minute. My thesis going into this was I'm going to have a lot of women who are pregnant buying the product, and I'm going to have a lot of women who are postpartum, like acute postpartum buying the product. But I really had an inclination that it was also going to be a lot of women with, let's say, 2 to 10-year-olds, because this is such an incredible ingredient mix addressing actual women's health and this symptom set. Postpartum is an up to 10-year nutrient critical life stage. So, we're not just talking about whatever the 4th trimester is for people. And the population of women with toddlers and with older kids who are in the DMs, who are sending emails to our customer service email, saying that this is a snack they're bringing with them when they're at their kids' sporting events over the weekend, that this is a snack they're keeping in their purse as they're dropping off their kids from daycare and running to, get on a Zoom. And that's really what I had hoped for the product. And then kind of this 4th group are the women that are coming back and reordering that are saying, my kids and my husband love this product so much that they keep stealing it. And so that's why I need to order more.
Funny story. My ex-boyfriend, I drink red raspberry tea for my period, and we were making tea one night, and I was like, "Oh, I'll make you a tea bag of what I'm drinking." And he looks at it and it's like for pregnancy and lactation or whatever it was, or regular menstrual cycles. And he was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to grow boobs. I'm not drinking this." But it's so important to note that the Mamala pouches, anyone can have. A father can have them, a older brother can have them, a baby, the mother. They're just really nutrient dense, amazing snacks that are kind of a comprehensive. I don't know if you'd call them a meal replacement. I'd actually be curious to hear your take on that. But they're just full of amazing nutrients that are really for anybody. They can support anybody's health.
Yeah. I actually I've had men say, are they going to make me lactate? No, they're not
Yeah,
going to make
literally.
No, we call them a support snack because I really see support snacks as being kind of a new way of snacking. It's really functional snacking for women's health. And I see it as being an entire new category of snacking. And we live in a consumer culture where so many of the products that are out there on the market, everything from, Advil to a protein bar is formulated off of a man's biology. That's just the default. So what we really set out to do is create an incredible, nutrient dense, beautiful, great tasting product that's based off of a woman's biology that's great for anybody to enjoy, but it just so happens to be addressing exactly what a woman's body needs during this 10-year nutrient critical life stage. And for us, as kind of we look ahead, we're setting out to really pioneer functional snacking for women's health, support snacks for a lifetime of nutrient critical life stages for women. So for that looks like menstruation, trying to conceive, prenatal, postpartum, perimenopause, and menopause.
It's so important because the root cause of almost all hormonal imbalances, I truly believe, are lifestyle driven, whether that's your diet, nutrient depletion, exposure to environmental toxins, which brings me to a really important point. Tell us about your packaging and how
Yeah.
important, how clean it is.
Yeah. Our packaging was, I had to learn so much about this industry going into it. I was always very conscientious as a consumer, what I was giving myself, what I was giving my children. But there is so much to learn about food manufacturing. And I feel like we are all really educated consumers now and getting more and more educated, really learning how to read labels. And I wanted to do my community justice because these are things that are so important to me. So we picked packaging that we were able to get all of the incredible ingredients into, minimal nutrient degradation, really high impact, no preservatives, no added sugars, all organic ingredients. It's really hard to do all these things, but it took years for me to find the right partners to be able to get this right with. And I'm so happy that we were able to get to this point where we could get it right, because I wouldn't have put anything out into the market that I wouldn't consume myself.
You look at like baby food formulas and it's just full of crap, full of processed ingredients, inflammatory ingredients, added sugars, seed oils, gums, emulsifiers. It's crazy. So walk us through the nutrient profile of, one or two different flavors that you have and some of the benefits of those nutrients.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before, we look at our symptom set, and that's, hormone regulation and balance, immunity, digestion, and microbiome health, tissue repair, muscle function, everything that I kind of went over before. And so when we're selecting ingredients with my incredible dietitian, who literally since day one that I had the idea, she said yes and believed in me every step of the way. And this is somebody who previously told me, I've had hundreds of people come to me with ideas and you're the only one that's actually done anything about it. So
Is she a functional nutritionist? What is her title?
she's an RD. She
Okay.
has worked in various settings. So she has worked with professional teams. She was the dietitian for the Marlins. She's an adjunct professor. She's worked in clinical settings for pediatrics, and now she's in private practice.
Okay.
And it was important for me to have somebody that is very, very clinical, because I have so many people in my network that are functional, so many people that kind of lean more towards the woo, which is kind of what I lean more towards. So to have that, and then the balance of this really clinical, peer reviewed expert in the room, we always land in like the perfect medium when it comes to making selections for the products. So one, our ingredients needed to be rich in essential micronutrients. So that's iron, magnesium, zinc, iodine, and we're getting those from pumpkin seeds. We're getting them from the spinach, the quinoa sprouts, the kelp, and that's really helping support, the tissue repair, the hormone balance, the energy. And then we also had ingredients that are supportive of brain and mood health. So that's, the DHA algal oil. That is what we're getting from functional mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi. And then antioxidant rich ingredients. So these like super fruits like blueberry, pomegranate, mango, pineapple. And these are the ingredients that really help manage oxidative stress, and then, replenish vitality. And then at the end, we have plant-based proteins and greens. So again, that's the pumpkin seed protein, it's spirulina, it's spinach, it's sweet potato. And these are the ingredients that restore our nutrient stores to promote that recovery. So it really wasn't about just like, let's get all these superfoods together and throw them in. Every ingredient has a purpose and has a function. And more so, I'm not just putting out product for consumerism and consumption, right? I'm putting out product that is really educating the consumer. So everybody's order comes with this beautiful product guide, and it's also on the PDP pages on our website. You can go in and see every single ingredient, the functionality of that ingredient, and all these ingredients are on the shelf of your local grocery store. So if you're not buying support snacks from us, although that's a very convenient way to get all of these ingredients in, use us as a guide to go grocery shopping and figure out what to get in your diet.
I was just going to ask you that. Like, obviously, everybody should go and buy support snacks because they're incredible and it's an all in one solution to get all of these amazing nutrients to feel your best. But how can we supplement with that? Or what are some meal prep tips or grocery shopping tips that you follow to keep, yourself really well nurtured as well as your family?
It's a great question. We are living in the best era to be caring about our nutrition because the resources abound. I use AI so much in my meal prep and meal planning. For one thing, okay, AI aside, what I'm doing every single day is eggs, avocado, olive oil, sea salt, cottage cheese. That is like a rotation once a day, like in a bowl. That is like what I'm eating. Veggies are really hard for me to get in. I'm not great about my veggie intake. So always just having different veggies in the fridge that I can cut up and throw in the oven on bake, get them nice and caramelized, and then throw them on top of like some greens and quinoa. That's super easy for me. But, in terms of kind of taking it one step further, I use AI to meal plan. I do not meal prep. I hate meal prepping, but I use it to meal plan. And kind of when you sent me some of the notes about what we were going to talk about, I was thinking, what about someone that, is like just trying to be in their body for a moment and think like, what is my body actually going through? Oh, I've been feeling really fatigued lately. Take that information, put it into your AI, say, be my registered dietitian. These are the symptoms I'm feeling right now. Come up with one meal a day that is whole food based and organic that can functionally support my fatigue. I pop that in. I got a week's worth of a meal a day that are so easy and delicious. And it's an incredible way to just a first step towards eating better and taking care of yourself from the place of root cause and really functional nutrition.
Wow, are you using ChatGPT for that?
Yeah.
Oh
I'll send you the prompt.
Yeah, please do. I love
Put it in
that.
the show
Put it in the
notes.
show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think about so often. I mean, I have used food medicinally for so long, but it used to be so rooted in a place of fear where I was like, ketogenic was the hype and then paleo was the hype and then vegan and plant-based, intermittent fasting. And I rode all these waves of like what was healthy or what was good, but I never tapped into my body and being like, how do I actually feel? How does my skin look? How does my gut feel? How am I sleeping? How are my energy levels? How's my anxiety? And like, there are so many times that I think everybody was ketogenic. I don't know what year that was, maybe 2016 or whatever, when that really blew up as a popular trend. And my hormones were so wacky. I was so fatigued all the time. And what I could have really used is a piece of sourdough toast and a bunch of sweet potatoes. But it wasn't, what was popular at the time. And I think that learning how to tap into your body and use how you feel, whether it be acute symptoms or just how your body feels as a guide to how to fuel yourself. Like ignore all of the noise and just follow like, what is the symptom? And then how do I support that through what I put in my body?
Totally. It comes back to just like intuitive eating and like just being intuitive as to where you're at this moment. And, in early postpartum, you're so scrambled that it's kind of hard to figure out where you're at, which is why having something that is really convenient and takes the thought out of it so great. And there's some, in the early days, there were no kind of postpartum meal delivery services. Now there are a few that are great, but if you can't afford that, a snack option is going to be your next best thing.
Totally. And also, why is a supplement not enough? I don't think this is talked about enough. I think a lot of people think they can supplement themselves out of nutrient deficiency or out of a poor diet. But why is this a necessary addition? Not, a supplement is not a replacement to your nutrients and what you
Yeah. We
require.
really fancy ourselves as a complement to your supplement. So, like, the easiest way of explaining that is our bodies can only absorb so much through supplements. The rest has to come from whole food.
Mm,
So, that's kind of like the most basic way of saying you can't supplement your way out of anything. You need to get in whole foods that are getting the vitamins and minerals into your body that are required. They need to come in food form.
That is what I appreciate with you too. I think as all of my Let's Feel Good community knows, I have a huge gripe with all of the very expensive, over promising gummies and powders. And, it's like a powder for metabolism or a gummy for glowy skin. But it's like, what are we eating that can,
And what are
really
we
heal
drinking? Like,
ways? What are we
how
drinking?
are
Yeah,
you hydrating yourself? Like,
totally.
you need to be hydrating, especially in postpartum. It's such a critical part of your recovery. What are you adding to your water? It's something that I think about a lot. You talking about, red raspberry tea during your period. That's something I do too. But, how are we getting in these vital vitamins and minerals to really restore ourselves?
100%. And I love too that support snacks are such an all-in-one, like it would be, I mean, you can go online or look at the pamphlet when you order it, but there's so many nutrients packed into one support snack. And like figuring out a creative recipe that fits all of them into a meal would
Get it?
take,
Well, that's what took a long time.
yeah, I can imagine.
So you have kelp and algal and mushrooms, and you have all of these pretty strong flavors. To get them to a really delicious point, took a lot of artistry and creativity.
Yeah. So Rebecca has done all the work for everybody. Now you can just go enjoy them and feel better, and get all your nutrients in. I love that. You talk a lot about serving the sisterhood. What does that mean to you? I think this is such an important component of Mamala.
Yeah. So, a personal level, serving the sisterhood is about me putting out support snacks to take care of women. That's who the sisterhood is. But on a deeper level, it's about showing the greater population how they can show up for women. It's not another onesie. Yes, it could be a massage. That's also very nice. But, really telling your community, your friends, your husband, how can you show up for me? You can nourish me. And that's a real positive impact and a real cultural shift. And I think we're living in times where taking care of women is an afterthought. Dr. Aviva Romm talks about in her book on postpartum how you can tell a lot about a culture by how they take care of their women. I want to task us as a society to level up how we take care of women in our society. We are the ones creating more humanity. We are bringing more humans into this world. So we need to task each other with showing up for women.
Absolutely. What are some tangible ways that we can show up for new moms, whether you're a brother, a husband, older sibling, an uncle?
Yeah. Well, as I said, nourishing them. It doesn't necessarily have to be mamala. It can be, setting up a meal train, which I love doing for friends. Anytime somebody has a baby, before I had mamala readily available, I would always make a giant pot of soup so they can freeze some and then have some. Showing up with helping hands, like coming over and saying, I'll do the dishes, I'll do the laundry, I'll carpool your other kids around to take the stress off of you. I think something that's really underrated is like just checking in, a text to say, hey, I'm here with whatever you need, or sending your friend a funny meme, because sometimes in those early days, things are dark and you just need to laugh about something. Giving them gifts that they actually want is really nice. Something that can be a little luxe, but I have to preface that with that if it is smelly, please ask them first if it's like a smelly, because like the sensitivity of smell is a real thing. But, these are just like very human things that you can show up and do. And I think a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do. Or, I think people from an older generation are like, I'm going to come to hold the baby,
Yeah. Do you feel, again, I have not had children, so I have not experienced this firsthand, but I think that there's been a lot of attention from the holistic community, from, women, from people on the internet around fertility. and egg
Mhm.
freezing, and even conditions like PCOS and endometriosis. I think menopause has been an afterthought for a while, and that in perimenopause, and that seems to be getting a little bit less taboo and a little bit more talked about. How do you feel about the postpartum space? Like, is the kind of, narrative that women should just have it all together and bounce back immediately? Or do you feel that people are starting to understand that women really do need support during this time and kind of the extent of
Yeah.
what they do go through?
I think slowly but surely people are starting to understand, but I hate this notion of bounce back because like there's literally no going back. You will never be who you were mentally, physically, emotionally after you have a baby. You'll never go back to her. You're becoming something completely new. And a lot of people talk about matrescence. Your synapses in your brain are rewiring
Mm,
similarly, but actually more so than through puberty. This is an entire mental, physical, and emotional transformation. And in a lot of cases, if you are prioritizing your nutrition, if you're prioritizing your mental health, which is so deeply tied to your nutrition, you can oftentimes end up better than you than you were before. And I will say that, postpartum is critically important to your long-term health and how you move through perimenopause and menopause. It really predicates that next transition of your life. I think more people are becoming more aware of it. I think we have a very long way to go. And what's happening in the perimenopause and menopause space is a lot of supplements are going into it. There's a lot of education around it. We're getting a lot of data around it. Now is the time to invest in actual products that help solve the symptom set. So, there's obviously hormone replacement therapy, but from a nutrition standpoint, there are some people out there trying to make products similar to ours that are really with functional nutrition head on trying to address these categories, but there is not enough. And because supplements seem like such an easy, yeah, you could just take the supplement and like you'll be better. I think that a lot of people are just kind of that is the first place they're going. And not understanding that it's way more than that. And diet plays such a huge role.
right. I I mean, I couldn't believe it more. It's how I healed my PCOS and all of my autoimmune and hormone conditions. What Obviously, diet is number one in nutrients. What
Mhm.
surrounds that? Like, what are the other pillars of, supporting your health, supporting your hormones, mitigating your symptoms postpartum, setting yourself up for a healthy, perimenopause and menopause experience? What are, I guess, personally and within the ethos of Mamala, the other self-care pillars that you really lean on?
Yeah. So I think like if you're looking at supporting our bodies postpartum holistically, we obviously spoke at length about nutrition. We touched on hydration, which is super important. Supplementation is important and there's a place for it. Rest is extremely important. Albeit in like the early days, it's really few and far between. Part of this restoration is creating a support network around you. These friendships, especially mothers going through postpartum in tandem with you, especially if you're a first time mom, that is so critical to your recovery and your long term well being. And then, on a more like physical side, early days, breathing exercises to re engage your core. Physical therapy, I can't speak highly enough of it. It is so critical to your recovery. You need to recover your pelvic floor. You need to recover your core. You need to learn how to move your body now. Like the impact of lifting up a baby multiple times a day is so wearing on the body and causes so much injury. So you really need to learn how to work with this new body and rebuild your strength. I was just with a mom yesterday who was telling me about these like crazy spasms she was getting in her back. It's her third baby just by the bending and the lifting, the bending and the lifting. So a combination of physical therapy and acupuncture is so important. Again, like we're setting up our our physical and our emotional well-being to move into these next stages of life. So, kind of at all levels, you need to be addressing, and it doesn't need to take over your entire life,
Mm.
right? Like these are small things that you can do, like doing pelvic floor therapy once a week, making small changes in your diet. Like these aren't huge time consuming things, but they're very, very impactful.
Always say this, the foundation of health is in what you do every day. It's the tiny habits, it's the clean swaps, it's learning how to shop at a grocery store. It's usually never in the super expensive supplements or therapies or splurge wellness treatments. It's really in what you do in the
I
day to
like
day.
I've brought this up before, but I could not sit after I had my first baby. I had this excruciating tailbone pain. I went into all the top physical therapists in New York City, got crazy treatments done to me, could not get any relief. I moved down to Miami during COVID. I got connected over Zoom with a physical therapist. She saw me do a few movements over Zoom, gave me very simple exercises, and I found relief within 48 hours just by doing these exercises.
Gosh.
Money, the cost of something does not equal the results of something. So, there are incredible online resources for physical therapy. There are incredible at-home resources. There's incredible resources that your insurance will cover. I would try and exhaust all of them to get that relief because you should not be living in pain or discomfort.
Absolutely not. Is you mentioned community, and community is so important. Actually was watching something the other night on Harvard did a study on the number one predictor of longevity and both living a long time, but also your health span. And it was community and the importance of community. And you mentioned that too, and kind of the pillars of how to care for yourself and how to support your health postpartum and into menopause and just women's health in general. Are there any networks? Like, do you go on Facebook to find groups? Is there an app? Is there a company that has an amazing
What a
mom?
tee up for my dear friend's company that I'm complete. So there is a community called Misha, Mysha, started by an incredible founder, Marika, and they have physical pods in New York, Miami, LA, and Austin, but they also have this huge virtual network, and they put you in a pod with women at the exact same stage in your pregnancy or postpartum as you. And I'll say I did some like IRL groups in New York. I wasn't the mom that was joining a mom's group, and Misha is kind of the group for moms who don't really join moms groups, which makes it so great. I was just able to find such an interesting network of women. And in those early days, if you are just if your friend is 2 months ahead of you, it feels like years in the early days. It's really crazy. So finding somebody that's doing it in tandem with you is really spectacular.
It's amazing. All right, we're gonna link that in the show notes too,
Yeah.
because it sounds like an incredible resource.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, this has been so helpful. I would love to dive in to at Let's Feel Good. We're all about swaps. Like our whole thing is you can have the Oreos, but just buy the Simple Mills. They taste the same, but they're made of whole foods.
I
And
love
I know the Simple Mills are so good. The cocoa
their
cashew.
banana mix, their banana muffin mix.
Oh, really?
If you're a mom listening to this and your kids want to bake with you and you're not interested in making a total mess in your kitchen, get the Simple Mills banana muffin mix. It's one bowl. Let your kids put in some Joy Life. I think it's what it's called. Those really
Yeah.
clean chocolate chips. Let them throw it in. It takes 15 minutes. They'll feel so happy that they got to bake with you and they taste amazing.
Okay. And I've never made them, so I have to try them. I think
Loving
they have
Simple
some
Mills.
chicken too. I love it. I love it. And if you look at, the whole kind of litmus test to Let's Feel Good is can you flip it over and can you go grocery shopping for every ingredient on the back, or would you cook with it or eat with it on your own? And Simple Mills passes that test every single time. It
A
could not
friend
be.
of mine put Mama Mello in her muffin mix the other day.
Oh, no way.
Said it added a pumpkin spice flavor to it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I was listening to that one of your Mama Mela does taste like pumpkin spice. So don't go to Starbucks and get the sugar-filled
you don't need 50 grams of sugar.
No.
You need
No.
under 10, but with amazing flavor.
Yes, and whole food-based sugar. Not
And functional ingredients. Yes.
totally. I love it. So
Okay.
walk us through a few of your favorite swaps because you are swap queen.
I know and I knew that your audience knows all the swaps. They know them all. So I had to really dig deep for these swaps. One that you all know is swapping matcha a few times a week instead of your coffee because you get the L-theanine for that calm focus. You get the added antioxidants. Okay, switching your table salt for seaweed flakes or kelp granules. This is a way to get natural iodine, which is critical for thyroid and your hormone health postpartum. Okay, trade your afternoon sparkling water for mineral water. Okay, you still get that effervescence. It's still refreshing, but you get the bonus magnesium and you get the trace minerals, and that supports muscle recovery and it supports relaxation. This is a general one because, you don't want to be putting hot plastic. You won't want to be putting plastic into hot water. So loose leaf tea or unbleached tea bags. You get higher quality herbs, you get the antioxidants. And then last but certainly not least, this is like very high up on my list, is not all nut milk is created equally. Most are like water with gums and oils and very few nuts. So either make your own or choose brands without fillers. We love Elmhurst and we love New Barn. It boosts your nutrient density. It has calcium, it has magnesium, it has healthy fats, no additives. So I think, yes, those are my swaps.
Those are really, really, really good ones. Nut milks are you have to watch out for them because on the front, it's like just almonds or low sugar or no sugar. And you flip it over and it's like gums, emulsifiers, sometimes sugar, stuff you don't want in them. So those are really important. The tea, that is a really, really important one too, because tea bags can be full of microplastics.
Those silky tea bags, they look nice. They're not
brands. Loose leaf tea, obviously, you steep it yourself, but are there brands with tea bags that don't have
medicinals are unbleached tea bags.
Okay.
That's kind of like my go-to. I do traditional medicinals, but I've really been into loose leaf just with like a stainless steel.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's one most people don't know about.
Yeah.
They think it's just
a good one.
Awesome. These are super helpful. I would love to ask you, close this out with what is your vision for Mamala? Where do you hope to take the brand in the next few years? Yeah. Where do you see this going?
Like what we're trying to do is really, kind of what RX Bar did for protein bars, what Olipop did for soda. Like our goal is to transform functional snacking for women's health under this umbrella of support snacks. So make it convenient, make it easy for women to access whole food, functional nutrition geared towards what their bodies need exactly when they need it. So that's on the product side. That looks like, menstruation through menopause. It looks like touching every woman. Kind of the culture side, Mamala is really about providing a maternal love. We'll say you don't need to be a mom to be a Mamala. Your brother-in-law can be a Mamala. Your sister can be a Mamala. It's about how you show up to provide that maternal love to the people you love. So, from a cultural perspective, that looks like not only taking care of women, but giving their communities the tools to take care of them in a meaningful way.
I love that. I love that. And you have amazing resources on your website, on your blog, on your Instagram. I love the entire mission and vision behind the brand. Amazing. So last question. Other than everyone listening, go and purchase some support snacks.
We'll make a code for you guys. We'll make a little code.
I love it. And we'll put it in the show notes as well. What is one step that they can take to better support their own health as a woman, but other than purchase a support snack?
The one step you could take for better health is what we talked about before, taking a moment to look inward and really figuring out, what does my body really need? And going forth with that as your guidepost. It's every day I'm waking up with so much anxiety. Look into that. Figure out where it's coming from, because it very well could be coming from your nutrition. If it's, I'm feeling fatigued all the time, like we talked about, address it. You do not need to silently suffer from whatever is causing you discomfort.
That is good. That is good. And wherever you feel discomfort is always information. And if we ignore it, it grows inside of us and leads us to, health complications, misalignment in jobs, relationships, whatever it may be. But if we listen to it and lean into it, it can guide us in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Information in our bodies, but we always tend to live in our heads.
Absolutely.
Such an important note. Amazing. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Annie.
Everything, where to find you, where to purchase support snacks, and some of the resources, amazing resources and swaps that we discussed in this episode. We will link everything on Substack in the show notes. But thank you for being here. This has been so much fun.
Good to be here.
Soon.
If anybody has any questions, you can DM us. I'm in the DMs answering questions all day.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Rebecca. Talk soon. Thanks for listening to Let's Feel Good. If today's episode helped you feel more clear, empowered, or inspired to take action on your health, I'd love if you'd subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who's on their wellness journey too. You can find today's show notes, links, and extra resources over on Substack at letsfeelgood.substack.com, and follow along on Instagram at Let's Feel Good Club for more real-life wellness tips in between episodes. Because how you live determines how you feel, and we all deserve to feel amazing. See you next time.